Good afternoon to you. 507 here, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we are making sense of the news. This is the 2023 WMAL Fisher House Radiothon. It's the final hour. This is it. We do 2 days each year where we tell you all about the great work of the Fisher House. You support it, and then we come back and tell you how you did and how many lives you've affected. You've affected so many. Well over $8 million in contributions from WMAL listeners over these last 2 decades. And today we're adding a lot more to that. $358,000 so far raised by WMAL listeners yesterday and today. Again, the final hour here. If you'd like to be a part of it, now's your chance. If you've been contemplating it, talking it over with the family, maybe you're looking to get that Christmas gift for the hard-to-shop-for person, make a contribution today to the Fisher House in their name. The number, 888-294-8560, 888-294-8560, or you can go online to WMAL.com/FisherHouse. We are eternally grateful for your help for this great organization, which takes care of the men and women of our military, our veterans from all of the wars, all of the living veterans, the guys who use the VA medical centers, and their families. They need to go to those Fisher houses nearby, a place to stay. They don't have to pay a dime to do it. They don't have to, and it's $10 a night. We were, talking earlier in the program about this very detail, that it's only $10 a night to take care of the families, and for one room, which means $100 goes a long way. That's 10 nights. Imagine $100 for 10 nights in a hotel, and I'm talking a nice place to stay, a really nice room, beautiful accommodations, great bathroom suite right there for them, and then a great kitchen. They have all sorts of food provided for them, their needs, their travel. The Fisher House does this. Angels on Earth. WMAL.com/Fisher House. This is the final hour here, and we're definitely trying to make that big push. Get your help today. That'd be great. Let me take a phone call. I've got Lisa calling in from Colorado. She's on line 1. Lisa, good afternoon. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hi, Vince. Very nice to speak to you.
Thank you.
I want to tell you, my father was in the Air Force, and I also work at a company that employs a lot of veterans. It's a great organization. But I actually heard about Fisher House from your show a couple of years back. So last year, earlier this year, some of us that are part of what's called our employee resource group, which is military veterans and their families, contacted Fisher House. I had the idea. I was like, well, what do they do if they need things? If the families are staying there, they got to have deodorant and toothbrushes and toothpaste and stuff like that.
Sure.
And so we put together an employee drive, and we collected razors and shampoo and toothbrushes and toothpaste, and we went up there and delivered it and restocked their toiletries closet, and we figured that was a practical way to let the contributions that people make financially for them to allow to not have to spend money on stuff like that.
Yeah, this is such a smart idea, Lisa. And first of all, thank you for that. Thank you for not only listening, but especially for helping out the Fisher House in this way. You think about all of us, like when we travel, I don't know about you, but I don't travel with shampoo. I don't pack shampoo in my luggage. If I know I'm going to my family member's house, they're going to have shampoo. I can use their shampoo. Or the hotels, they've got the shampoo. Although these days they don't give it out quite as much. They put the pumps on the walls and they're like, they're getting a little stingy with the shampoo. But the point is you need these things. And sometimes you get to your accommodations, you're like, oh, I don't have a razor. I forgot to get a razor. You forget something. You put it all together here, you and your colleagues. What kind of company is this, Lisa? You can say the name of your company if you'd like.
We work in the aerospace industry.
Okay.
And so one of the things that I thought of was, and you've had some of the people over the last few days, and I've been listening, throughout the yesterday and today with not just yours but Chris's show and everything. But even if you may not know how long you're going to have to stay out there, and so you may come with your initial set of, I've got a little bottle of shampoo and some toothpaste, but what if you end up being there 6 months?
That's right. And if you're flying, TSA is not letting you take much. You're only taking a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, it's an excellent point. Well, thank you, Lisa, for doing that. That goes a long way. And we do talk about the financial contributions here all the time, but you're right. They do have other needs for supplies. I know that they take air miles as well, so that they can use some of those air miles and fly people in. If you're interested in any of that, you can definitely, obviously, Get in touch with the Fisher House and just make the call here to this number, 888-294-8560, and they'll be sure to direct you to the right place. And again, Lisa, thank you for that. I really appreciate your call and the update on what you all have been up to. It's a real blessing. Thank you, Lisa.
Love your show, Vince.
Thank you very, very much. Lisa calling from Colorado. She said she heard it a couple years ago on the program about the Fisher House, decided to do something to support them, got the office together, and now they're donating toiletries to assist them out. That's pretty cool. And this is why, we've been talking to these families, a lot of people who've stayed at these Fisher houses, and they say, we had one guest tell us, it may have been Tia here who told us about this, but don't buy anything. The wonderful people, I got to know what the interview process is like when they hire these people at the Fisher House. Like, how do they find them? What headhunting service is involved in finding the people who work at Fisher House? Because they're all like, they'll do anything. They'll do anything. We had one call yesterday. They said that the head of the Fisher House, the wife was stranded in a snowstorm, was in an unfamiliar city, was literally like blocked off in a whiteout, like some corner of some street, had no idea where she was. And the Fisher House person said, tell me where you are. Describe what you're seeing. And went out and rescued them. These are unbelievable people. And so we hear at the Fisher House that you have people staying there and they'll want to run out and get some supplies. I don't know about you, but when I get to a hotel, one of the first things I do is I go out for water. I go out and get like a little case of water. Just have to have it at the hotel because you never know. You're going to be thirsty, especially if you drink a little bit of booze. You're going to need some water later in the night. And that's one of the first things I do. And they have it all. They have it all. Fisher House says, don't go shopping. Tell us what you need first. We probably have it. Because they get all these contributions, and they're ready to take care of you. So just so many great stories, and that's why we love telling them. Let's bring in the vice president here of community relations for the Fisher House, retired Navy Aviator and the father of a sailor. Brian Gawne joins us now. Brian, great to have you with us.
Hey, Vince, it's great to be with you.
It's an amazing time. Honestly, we're just so grateful to be able to work with you guys and to support the Fisher House. Give us your update from your perspective as to how things are going with your great organization.
Well, this afternoon I just visited the Fisher House in the Chicago area at the Hines VA Medical Center, and that house is just about full right now. And I mentioned the Radiothon, and one of the people there said, you tell all those listeners out there, thank you from all of us. They were very sweet, and they appreciate what you're doing and what your listeners are doing.
Well, that's such a nice thing. Are all of the Fisher houses, I mean, it's been my impression, I keep talking to everybody, and that it seems like they're all kept to some like ridiculously high standard. I haven't heard a single person be like, yeah, it was okay. They're all like, it was honestly magnificent. It was just like, they can't believe what they're experiencing.
I worked at a Fisher House for 3 years before I let my wife see one because I thought it'd cost me a kitchen remodel. That's how nice they are. When Zach built these houses, he didn't want it to look like a government building. He wanted to look like they were staying at his house. Yeah. And Zach was a millionaire, and he wanted those people in that house to know how much the American public appreciated their sacrifices. And so we built a very high standard. And the beautiful part is the VA and services do a very good job of keeping it to that level of what we do. Because, let's face it, these veterans, these families that are going through a hard time, we want them to know. We want them to be in a nice place. We want to take all their cares about where I'm staying out of their mind so they can focus on being there for their loved one.
Right. Yeah. Your organization, Fisher House, are so good at mitigating all of those things. Like anything that can be dealt with by somebody else, if it's not something that you have to deal with personally, Fisher House is trying to figure out a way to help you deal with it. Just like take it off your plate.
Well, those managers they're angels that walk the earth. I just met he writes the manager here in Chicago, and she is just a beautiful person. The things that she does and goes out of that. And she understands, that, not everybody's having a good day and they might not be in a good mood, but because they're spending all day in the hospital, they're concerned about their loved ones and all that. And the staff of those houses treat those families with such grace, and that rubs off. And when you watch how the families support each other and lift each other, they come back, hey, you're going over to the hospital? Yeah, Vince. Your spouse over there? How about I walk over here? How's she doing? They talk back and forth. They build these bonds. They're going through hard times together.
Yeah.
And the network is amazing.
Also, one of the common themes I hear with the managers of all of these Fisher houses is that they'll just kick through any wall they need to. It's like some barrier gets up in the way. You're like, well, there's this rule where only one person is allowed to be here, or whatever the things are. And they're like, don't worry about it. We'll take care of it for you. We'll get that all sorted out.
They are fiercely protective and caring for their families. And it's one of the beautiful programs. They're allowed to make exceptions. It's one of those things where you realize, hey, not everybody's situation. There are sometimes you need to do color outside the lines and do something unique. And the beautiful part, it's actually a government program that allows them to do that when it makes sense. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, well, it's working. It really is. I know you're on the road to 100 houses. The goal here is going into the late spring, early summer of next year. It sounds like the progress on that is very good, Brian.
Yeah, we just turned over house number 96, and we've got 97, 98, and 99 are under construction in Memphis, San Antonio, and Chicago. And this spring, we plan on breaking ground on number 100.
That's amazing. That's going to be a great moment and a great sign of kind of just a great reflection on all of the work that you have done, that you and all the people around you have been doing for all these years. To support people. It's a mission, as you point out, that Zach Fisher makes happen, and it's just been so impressive to watch its progress through the years.
Well, and WMAL has been with for years, and your listeners have been with us for years, and all of us at the foundation and those families out there, they appreciate what you guys have done. Keep it up, and we love answering the phones.
It's awesome. Well, apparently the phones are very busy today because I was just handed an update. Is this real? This is a big jump from the last count. $378,105 so far, wow. Brian. That's the latest update as the phones do keep ringing for the Fisher House Radiothon. And I'm telling everybody, this is the final hour of our Radiothon here to support the Fisher House. I'd really appreciate people picking up those phones and doing that very thing. 888-294-8560 or online at WMAL.com/Fisher House. Brian, before I let you go, any final thoughts here as we've kind of wrapped things up going into this last final hour?
Yeah, I had a lot of folks yesterday talking out. I mentioned I did serve, and I will just say, go Navy, beat Army.
Go Navy, beat Army. That's what people have been saying to you, or you're saying that?
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I have a feeling there may be some soldiers who have a different view, but I'm just saying.
Well, they can just match that with a donation then.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, those donations come in. You can express yourself nicely. Thank you very much. I really appreciate all of your excellent work, Brian. Thanks for being a part of a great organization.
Take care. Thanks for the work.
It's Brian Gawne with the Fisher House, a great American veteran. Okay, I gotta give a shout out to all the American Legion posts in the area. Everybody's listening. We had I told you earlier that in the very final seconds of the Chris Plante show today, apparently there was a big contribution made by American Legion Post 72 in Warrenton, and I asked if it was possible that other great veteran organizations might want to pitch in, and we just got another one. American Legion Post 293 in Purcellville has just made a contribution to the Fisher House of $1,293. You can figure out why they chose that number in particular. Thank you to the men and women of the American Legion Post 293 in Purcellville. God bless you. That's a big contribution and a really nice addition to the totals here. We'll give you updates on that total figure coming up. The Fisher House Radiothon here continuing. And we're going to be chatting with one of our favorites, the president of the Fisher House Foundation, Dave Coker, coming up. Dave has an amazing demeanor. If you've ever heard this guy talk, we chatted with him yesterday, and we're going to kind of wrap things up with him here today. He's got an amazing demeanor. I think his voice conveys it. He's just such a calming presence. The guy he's very sweet, very talented, and very sincere about how much he loves this country and our troops, and he's the perfect guy to be the president of the Fisher House Foundation. And he's going to give us an update on what all of this means, what all of your generosity means to them and to the troops, and how far it's gone. Like I said, this is a very intimate relationship we've had. I don't think, is there anything else like this in the country? WMAL as a radio station with such a great audience, over $8 million raised over these last 2 decades, a little over 2 decades now, to support our troops through all sorts of trying times, difficult moments in war, people being injured through illness, sickness, troops dying, being brought home, dignified transfers of remains at Dover, all sorts of challenges. Fisher House has been there through the years. WMAL's audience has been there through the years. And we are entering now the final half hour of this year's Radiothon. This is a big opportunity to make a big difference in the lives of the people who've given so much to us. 888-294-8560 or online at WMAL.com/FisherHouse. Hey, good afternoon. 5:35 here, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. It's the final half hour now of the Fisher House Radiothon. You can contribute at 888-294-8560 or go online to WMAL.com/FisherHouse. Appreciate all of your generosity. We are looking at some headlines here on what is going on in Israel. This ceasefire apparently has come to a conclusion. It's off right now. The Gaza ceasefire has collapsed, and Israel is once again going after Hamas for all of the horrors that they committed in Israel. And, you know, earlier this week, there was an attack in Jerusalem. And in other words, like, the ceasefire didn't actually end because Hamas just kept attacking Israel. Here's the Times of Israel from, again, yesterday. 4 killed, 5 injured in Hamas-claimed terror shooting at Jerusalem bus stop. Okay, so how is it a ceasefire? How is it? What a ceasefire involves both sides not shooting at each other. Hamas is committing terror attacks in Jerusalem. 4 people killed, 5 wounded Thursday, one of them seriously, in a terror shooting attack claimed by Hamas at the entrance to Jerusalem, police and medics said. One of those killed was a civilian who fired at the terrorists and was mistaken by other responders for one of the shooters. The victims were named later. They list out the names here. Variety of people aged between 24 years old and 73. According to the cops, at around 7:40 in the morning, 2 Palestinian gunmen got out of a vehicle at the main entrance to the capital and opened fire at people at a bus stop. All right, so Hamas claimed credit for it, this terror attack. So here's John Kirby yesterday, asked by a reporter if this was a violation of the ceasefire, the truce. We're not going to shoot at each other.
Regarding the attack in Jerusalem, in which Hamas has taken credit, does the U.S. View that attack in any way to be a violation of the ongoing truce between Israel and Hamas?
Well, the answer to that would be obviously yes. There's no question, right? This is open and shut. Yeah, of course, they're violating the terms of the truce.
I don't want to get in. I'm not a lawyer here. This attack happened in Jerusalem. Right. The pauses in the fighting were specific to Gaza.
What?
Okay, so that's as simple as that. I mean, it wasn't. Therefore, it didn't violate.
It didn't technically violate the deal that was in place, but obviously, it's a stark reminder of who they're facing and what kind of enemy that they're opposing.
The deal was just for Gaza. The deal was that no shooting would take place in the area controlled by Hamas. But the areas where Jewish people live, Israel, it's totally fine. It wouldn't violate the ceasefire. This is, okay, so by John Kirby's definition, you understand, the October 7th terror attack, if Hamas were to conduct it again, would not violate the terms of the ceasefire. What? What is this insanity? What are they even talking about? This is lunacy. Now, we have some reports on the way the Biden administration is treating all of this. We have, apparently, here's the report. The Daily Caller summarizing here. The Biden administration was reportedly turned on Israel in a recent private meeting, warning that the country does not have, quote, the credit to keep the war going. The Times of Israel has reported. The outlet cited leaked remarks from the meeting, which were originally published in Hebrew by Israeli outlet Channel 12 and then back translated into English by the Times. Secretary of State Antony Blinken reportedly met with Israeli Defense Forces Chief Herzi Halevi and Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant on Thursday, telling the officials that the IDF must not attack the southern part of Gaza. You must not attack Hamas in the south, is what Antony Blinken has reportedly told the IDF. Don't you dare. Where 2 million Palestinian civilians are located, the same way it invaded the northern part of the Strip, according to the Times of Israel. The officials reportedly told Blinken the whole country is willing to wage a prolonged war to destroy Hamas. Not surprising, right? If you were Israeli, where would you be on this question? Yeah, we want to let's kill the terrorists, please, after what they did to our country, after what they've been doing. So Israel says to Blinken, yeah, look, our people are all in. They want to wipe out Hamas. Hard to blame them. Quote, the entire Israeli society is united behind the goal of dismantling Hamas, even if it takes months, Gallant told Blinken, according to the Times of Israel. Blinken responded this way, quote, I don't think you have the credit for that. What does that mean? I don't think you have the credit for that. So here's the U.S. asserting itself. Here's Tony Blinken saying, nope, you can't do this. Not on our watch. You're not going in there. Where was this kind of aggression with Ukraine? Where was this at? Isn't it amazing the differences here? So in Israel's case, we're dealing with a great American ally, not a corrupt one. You're dealing with people who were just subjected to a terror attack, and they're attacking Hamas, as you would expect, right? We get attacked on 9/11, we attack the terrorists. They get attacked on October 7th, they attack the terrorists. Makes sense. And here you have the United States going, you have to stop? Knock it off? Like, what is that about? And then in Ukraine, meanwhile, which happens to be the country that has given the Biden family millions of dollars, in Ukraine, we're like, yeah, you have carte blanche, whatever you want. We have, I was just double checking the numbers on this to make sure I get my arms around it. We've committed well over approximately Congress has committed about approximately $113 billion. They've approved over $113 billion to Ukraine already in this conflict over the last 2 years. $113 billion. Now, what is the equivalent here for Israel? Like, what has the U.S. given Israel through the years? So, over the course of the last 75 years, the United States has contributed approximately $130 billion. $130 billion. So just a little bit more to Israel over the last 75 years than what we've given to Ukraine. And there is no call for ceasefires in Ukraine right now. None. The White House isn't doing that. They're not telling Zelensky to knock it off. They're not doing any of that. That's saying you can't attack in this place So it's just amazing. It's just amazing. So here you have Tony Blinken, the perfectly named Tony Blinken, who's saying, all right, that's enough. You've had your fun. You can knock it off now. And you got to believe, by the way, the reason for all of this is Biden is under this intense pressure domestically from his own base. They're not on Israel's side on this at all. Well, there's some are, but a huge percentage of his base is not. And there's a lot of, you're seeing it spill out in the city streets across the country. People rooting on Hamas violently, attacking NYPD, going to events, going to a Christmas tree lighting and disrupting that, fighting with the cops, quote, for peace. Of course, that doesn't make any sense. It's completely nonsensical because they're not looking for a peace. They're looking for a victory. That's what they're looking for. So that's the update on that story. But what a weird statement from Kirby. Yeah, like attacking Jerusalem in an attack that was claimed by Hamas is not a violation of the terms of the ceasefire. But if Israel attacked Hamas in Gaza, it would be. What? So you just tie Israel's arms behind their back and let them get punched in the face over and over? Is that the arrangement? It's bizarre. It's bizarre. So if this tells you anything, it tells you our world is hectic, doesn't it? So not only has Israel been attacked, but we've seen a number of American troops attacked over and over. Each passing week, you get more and more headlines on that. by Iranian proxies, by these terror groups. And so America's troops are very much in harm's way. And the way things are going could be a lot more so in the very near future, unfortunately. You worry about that. And so what can we do to prepare for that? What do we have at our disposal to prepare for that? Well, one thing we can do is take care of our troops and their families. That's definitely something we can do. That's within our power right now. You don't have to wait for any member of Congress or any vote or any election, none of it. And so here at WMAL, we're supporting the Fisher House. That's our plan right now. And it has been for over 2 decades. And here to talk to us a bit more about this great relationship between WMAL and the Fisher House and how things are going with that organization, I want to bring in Dave Coker now, the excellent Dave Coker. He's the president of the Fisher House Foundation, the first employee of the foundation hired by the founder, Zachary Fisher. Dave, great to talk to you again today, sir. Thank you very much.
Oh, and thank you and your listeners for what you've been able to accomplish over the past 2 days. It's truly amazing.
It is so nice. Every year, the nice thing about this, in addition to helping the troops, I'd say one of the second order spillover effects of this is I'm just reminded of the decency of the audience and certainly of the reach of this great station. Because I look at these numbers. Corey is our producer here. He keeps bringing in numbers to me on the grand totals we've raised, and they go up by thousands of dollars every couple minutes. And it's just a sign, Dave, that you have such an important mission there at the Fisher House, and it really resonates with people.
Well, it really is. The military is great at buying the beans, the bullets, and the bandages, and taking care of the families. Sometimes there are things we can do to be a part of the solution. And why wouldn't we be part of the solution for those we seek to honor? I might have told Mr. Fisher once or twice that our success was due to brilliant leadership, but it really is who we serve. People have such an appreciation for the men and women who serve and the families who sacrifice by their side.
I asked a question kind of rhetorically earlier, and I want to ask you directly now. What is it like? How do you find the people who actually manage these Fisher houses? Because it sounds like they're just universally, they're well liked by the people that end up in those Fisher houses and need the assistance. And they all seem to, in their own way, move heaven and earth to accommodate the military families who need that help. How do you find these people?
The program just draws them. They come from all parts of the VA. Many of them are retired service members. And to have the opportunity to make the system work. Heard the story about Venetia in St. Louis, who went across the river to find a spouse that was lost. Not only did she go across the river, she went to the next state. And they are the translator, they're the interpreters. They're, so often in the military, we've got our acronyms. And we'll say, hey, all you need to do is take this 2409, go see TOP, and go over to Building 10, and they'll take care of you. Well, there's nothing that says Building 10 is going to be anywhere near Building 9.
Yeah.
And so, these people play such a critical role, and they take ownership of the families they serve. And they're some of the best huggers you'll ever find.
They're such sweet people, universally sweet people. We've talked a lot about the work the Fisher House does for the families of the living, the families of the people who need medical attention at these various hospitals and veterans hospitals and military hospitals all around the country and around the world. But if I could ask you, because we haven't had much of a conversation on it in the last 24 hours, at least on my program, I want to emphasize one of your missions is at Dover to assist the families of the fallen. Can you tell us about that and the role that the Dover Fisher House plays in your work?
Oh, it's a special place. When President Obama opened up the dignified transfer of remains ceremony to family members, they would be brought back to Dover, and initially the services would put everybody on orders, but that would put them in a strip hotel. Good facilities, the Hilton Garden Inn, the residence and this, that, and the other. But in Dover, you would have a van come and pick you up in the middle of the night, take you to the flight line. You'd go through security and witness the ceremony and go back and be by yourself. And it was the Army Surgeon General who went to participate in and have the honor of being in one of these ceremonies. And he said, I think Fisher House might be interested in helping out. And so the idea was presented to us. And as we thought about it, this is the last interaction these families will have relative to their loved one's service. And we can do better than letting them stay in a hotel. So we built a special 9-suite house at Dover with a pavilion where they can get together, they can talk and start telling those stories, remembering their loved one, and they can know that there are others have an appreciation for their loved one's service. I was in San Antonio not long ago, and I was just getting my rental car. And as I was checking out, the agent was confirming the email address and saw Fisher House. And she goes, "Oh, Fisher House, I love it." And I said, "Oh, what house did you stay in?" And she said, "Well, I stayed at Dover when my husband was killed." And, that just, it gives you pause. And it lets you know that, we made a difference. We made an impression with her.
The stories that always stick out to me, I always remember, for some reason this just sticks out, that at the Fisher House at Dover, when it's raining, and of course you can't control the weather, when it's raining and those families step out of that home to go to that solemn ceremony, there are Fisher House employees that are there with umbrellas to help guide them out. And it's just a sign. It's just I think it's a big symbol of the way the Fisher House operates. It's just they have these families covered. They take care of them.
Well, we have such a tremendous respect for all the families we get to help, and the support we receive from the listeners of WMAL allows us to take that next bold step and be ready for the challenges that tomorrow's going to bring.
Yep, and there's a lot of challenges ahead. We're certain of that, and it's good to have angels by your side as we encounter them. Thank you very much, Dave Coker, the president of the Fisher House Foundation. I very much value our friendship and the relationship that these two organizations have had through the years. Thank you very much, sir.
Well, thank you, and it's clear that not only do you have the smartest listeners, but you have the most generous.
Very much so. Thank you very much, Dave. And if you'd like to be among the listeners contributing today to the Fisher House, 888-294-8560, 888-294-8560, WMAL.com/Fisher House. Just minutes left in the Radiothon. At the end of last year's program, we were at $372,000. Thanks in part to George in Madison, Virginia, $1,000 contribution. Thank you, George, a part of a grand total of $392,443. Another big, successful Fisher House Radiothon. God bless you for it. Your contributions will continue to be good. WMAL.com/Fisher House. The great one up next.